Good morning, gang. Happy Monday morning. All right. All of us have heard the quotes in life that life is hard, right? We've also heard the quote, anything worth having, you work hard for. Put those two together, okay? Life is hard. If you want to have a life, you got to work hard at it, right? Most of us, pretty much everybody here, okay, understands that concept. And whether it's working hard by going to the office, going to work out in the fields, working around the house. Yes, I'm sorry, but housewife is a job. Disagree with me if you want to, but I don't care. Okay. We put the effort in to do everything. I was watching a video yesterday, and I also read a couple articles yesterday about people whining that their government assistance isn't enough to get their kids presents for Christmas. Watching an article about a woman, watching a video about a woman who was complaining that now that Trump has been elected, she and her husband are going to have to go to work because she's not going to make enough to pay their rent, to go to the food. They go out to lunch every Sunday, and they can't afford it anymore because their government assistance isn't enough. No, lady, let me explain something to you. You go out to lunch every Sunday because we go to work, all right? Your government assistance comes out of my paycheck. This is the issue, and people really need to wake up and understand that the globalist mentality, this is exactly what they are trying to do to us. They want everybody completely reliant on the government, and they're doing it right in front of us, and we don't see it. Let's take inflation. The government keeps spending money, and you can take this for any country, okay? This just isn't the United States. The government keeps spending money, which of course drives up inflation, all right? When you don't make anything, but you keep spending money, you're borrowing money, you're driving the cost of things up, okay? Well, what does inflation cause? Inflation causes more and more people to fall behind and eventually fall off the edge of the cliff, okay? That they can't afford groceries, so they need to go on food stamps. They can't afford medical insurance, or they can't, their job doesn't offer it anymore, so now they have to go on Obamacare, government-controlled health care. They can't afford groceries, so they go on food stamps, right? Add these things together. We hear all the stories about we're so short of homes in the United States, and Biden came out a few months ago and says, well, we're going to build 80 million homes. Government-assisted housing. Oh, okay, right? We want to get rid of gas-powered cars. Everybody needs to take public transportation. Government-assisted transportation. Are you seeing the pattern suddenly? That the intent of the globalists, the elitists, the oligarchs, is to make us all reliant on the government. Cradle to grave government reliance. That's what they want. They want them to sit at the top of the mountain and all of us to sit in the valley begging for their crumbs. We've talked about feudalism for years. That's exactly what's going on. They are trying to turn us into a feudalistic world where there are a few thousand people sitting at the top, and the rest of us are all clamoring at the bottom going, please, sir, may I have another? Right? Okay. How do we stop this? We become self-sufficient. We get to a point where we don't need them. You have your house. Gee, maybe you don't need a McMansion when you're 25, okay? A small house, like most of us, those of us that are older, grew up in, that was maybe a 1,200 to 1,500 square foot house. Maybe the kids shared a bedroom, okay? Yeah, that was the way it worked. You had a small house and you worked your way up. You didn't have a bedroom for each kid and a master ensuite and, oh gee, we have the gym in the basement and we've got our solarium in the backyard. No, okay? You're 25. No. You're 30. No. Gee, maybe if you got real lucky when you're 60, maybe then you could afford that, okay? Unless you're, I don't know, a silver spoon recipient. Could be. There are a few of those out there, but they're the ones that think they're the oligarchs, right? The rest of us do it the normal way. We work our way up. We don't buy a Cadillac or a jet. Hell, I've never even owned a Cadillac or anything that fancy, okay? We owned Chevys, Fords, Dodges, whatever, your basic transportation, and as you got a little bit older, you might have got a nicer car or a nicer truck, okay? Yeah, right? I've owned one new car in my life. I'll never own another one. It was probably the stupidest financial move I ever made, was buying a new car. But this is the thing. It's us being self-sufficient is how we stop them. Sure, you're not going to pump gasoline in your backyard. I get it. But yes, you can own your house outright. Gee, I don't need government-assisted housing. I can raise my own food, or as much of it as possible. And gee, when I go to the grocery store now, I don't have to spend $400 for a week's worth of groceries because I grew or raised $300 of it, and some of the few things that I can't produce on my own or get from sharing with neighbors or anything, all of a sudden I'm okay. But gee, you have to get your insurance. Okay. How long is that going to last? I think I told you guys, Mrs. P's insurance went from $260 in 2024 to $320 a month in 2025. And some of you guys are saying that's cheap. Okay. Yeah. When you get a $20,000 deductible on it, no, when it's not cheap. Okay. But this is what you got. You see stories all the time about, oh, I'm sorry, this guy died because his insurance company won't pay for a kidney transplant. Or we saw the stories a few weeks ago where I think it was Blue Cross Blue Shield was trying to stop paying for anesthesia for surgeries, that it was going to have to be out of pocket. I read a story yesterday about a woman who's got to go for chemo treatments because she's got cancer every 3 weeks at a cost of $15,000, and the insurance company denied coverage on it. What? Okay. She's paying her premiums. If it's, gee, socialized medicine, maybe I can understand it. I'm sorry, sir. The government's $37 trillion in debt. We can't afford to give you a kidney. Right? You might understand that. But of course, Nancy Pelosi needed a hip replacement, and man, that was done in 24 hours in a foreign country, still paid for by our tax dollars, right? We got that taken care of. This is the thing. I don't care that Donald Trump is the next president. Yeah, he's going to fix some of this stuff. Joe Biden just pardoned 37 people on federal death row overnight. Okay, so great. Let's let more murderers who were convicted of some seriously heinous crimes, let's let them have a nice life on the government dole, which is our paychecks again. Okay, this is it. Everything they want is the government to pay for it. Where does the government get the money? Well, they take it from us. And what happens? Okay, now all of a sudden, well, you know what? The government's taking over the airlines. Seen that happen before. The government's taking over the auto industry. We've seen that happen before. You know, and all of a sudden now your paycheck comes from the government, even though you work for General Motors or Boeing or something like that. Think I'm kidding? Take a look at the Soviet Union. Let's look at history. Let's look at facts. Let's look at what really happens. The platform to the people. Everybody will have a house. Everybody will have food. And the people thought, hey, this is great, right? Until you got the letter in the mail. You're expected to be at this location at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning to your job, to your government job. This is what you're going to do. Their choice, not yours. This is what you're allowed to eat this week. This is the temperature you're going to keep your house at. This is where this is leading, and this is what people need to wake up to. People bitch about conservatives all the time. You want to go back to, yes, I do. Let's go back to every generation will tell you, gee, if it was only like it was when I was a kid, okay? Sure, I'd love to go back to the music that we had in the 80s or stuff like that. Do I want to go back to that economy that we had, where mortgage rates were 22%? No, don't want to go back to that. Could we go back to the 50s? Yeah, that might be better. When it was safe to walk down the street. When a family could have a house and nice clothes and a car on one income. Where crime wasn't bad. Do I want to go back to the 60s and the free love and the drugs? No. Okay. Do I want to go back to the 70s and the Cold War nuclear threat? Hell, we're there right now. Okay. You want to go back to conservative principles? Let's go back to the 1940s and 1950s. That would be the time, and I wasn't even around for it, okay? But when people could afford to go to the grocery store, to go to dinner, that they had a little bit of class. When people walked down the street in something other than their pajamas, where we didn't have the, are you a man or are you a woman? Well, gee, let me look between my legs. I can figure it out real fast, okay? I'm not confused about it. I don't want to go back to the point of segregation. No, that was not something I want to go back to. That's been fixed long ago. One of these days, maybe one subsector of the United States will figure out that we're all equal and stop bitching, right, Joy Reid? But what you need to look at, everybody, maybe share this over Christmas. Get yourself insulated from the government takeover of everything. It gets harder and harder every day. Every day we seem to lose another right, or they're trying to take another right away from us. Biden again. We need to stop misinformation and disinformation. Oh, so you want to violate the First Amendment. We need to have red flag laws, and we need to have gun confiscation. Oh, so you want to get rid of the Second Amendment. No. We need to start solidifying those in our lives, where stop being so butthurt when somebody walks down the street and disagrees with you. All sorts of stories right now about liberals not inviting their conservative family members to Christmas dinner. If you voted for Trump, they've disowned you. That's childish. I'll give you a perfect example. We had I think I told you guys Saturday night, we had our community Christmas party. The liberal, small, but liberal subset of our community, they didn't show up. They had their own party instead because they're a bunch of crybaby pussies. That's it. Oh, we didn't get our way. We're going to take our ball and go home. Blow me. Okay? Worthless pieces of hovno. This is it. Get yourself as prepared as possible. Insulate yourself from the insanity that's out there. You don't have to accept any of this. If you own your house, you don't care about government housing. If you grow your own food, you don't care about the price of groceries at the grocery store. Okay? If you've got a well, you don't care about the water prices. If you've got any sort of alternative energy that you generate from yourself for yourself, you start to care less about the electric costs, et cetera, et cetera. And all of a sudden, you're ungovernable. They don't have anything on you. We're going to turn off your electricity. I don't care. I generate my own. We're not going to let you buy more than 2 apples with your digital ID. I don't care. I'll go pick them off my apple tree. Right? Sure. You still have to pay your property taxes. Now, unless you live in one of these states that's got idiotic property taxes, yippee. I got my bill. It's $1,300 for a year. Okay? I can figure out where to come up with $1,300 in a course of a year. I could collect tin cans on the side of the road and recycle them and figure out how to come up with $1,300 in a year. That's it. Okay? All these people whining that they can't afford Christmas presents for their kids because, oh my God, I've got to go get a job. Gee, sucks to be you. Life's hard. And anything worth having is worth doing something about. To all those people that think the government owes them something, get off your ass and go do something. It ain't my responsibility to make sure you have a life. That's your problem. Deal with it. Pinball out.